بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to have our third session on the ninth section of Al-Isharat al-Tanbihat by Ibn Sina with the commentary by Khaja Nasiruddin al-Tusi. Just because Ibn Sina referred to a symbolic story and he asked the readers to reflect on it and try to find out the secret in that story. So as you know, all the commentators of Al-Isharat have tried to find out what is that story, a story of Salaamaan and Absaal, and what is the secret in that story. So we had already one story which Ibn al-Arabi in his book An-Nawadir had mentioned, but we said that that story doesn't that much match, because Ibn Sina said that Salaamaan is your example and Absaal is the example for your rank or degree in Irfan, and the story of Salaamaan and Absaal, which was mentioned before, didn't match. So now Khaja Nasiruddin al-Tusi rahmatullah alayhi says, ثم إني أقول قد وقع لي, page 51 according to the edition that we are using and you have been given, page 51. ثم إني أقول, Khaja rahmatullah alayhi says, I am saying قد وقع لي بعد تحرير هذا الشرح قصتان منسوبتان إلى سلامان و أبصال. After writing this commentary, then he says, I came across two more stories which are attributed to Salaamaan and Absaal. As I told you last session, it shows that they were very much trying to keep their eyes open for anything new that they may come across, and even if he had written this commentary long before, he added and updated this and revised it. The second story, he says he found it after 20 years and still he managed to update his commentary. إحداهما, the first story, وهي التي وقعت أولا إلي. This is the one that first I came across. So among the two stories that we are going to mention, Khaja first came across this one. ذكر فيها, please listen very carefully to the story, and I'm also trying to explain the text. There are lots of points in these two stories. ذكر فيها أنه كان في قديم الدهر ملك ليونان والروم ومصر. Long time before, in the ancient time, there was a king for Greece and for ancient Roman Empire, or Roman territory, like Byzantine and Egypt. So had vast territory, this king. وَكَانَ يُصَادِقُهُ حَكِيمٌ. This king had a friend, Sadiq, a very close friend, who was Hakim, who was a wise person, a sage. فتح بتدبيره له جميع الأقاليم. With the management of this Hakim, who was his advisor, his friend and advisor, he conquered all the continents, all the countries that were known. وكان الملك يريد ابنا يقوم مقامه. The king wanted to have a son who would replace him. He was thinking, after me, I should have a son who would be able to run this country. But he didn't want to marry. من غير أن يباشر امرأة. So the king didn't want to marry any woman, but still wanted to have a son. فدبر الحكيم. Hakim made a plan, found a solution. And this is very interesting. It's like cloning. Hundreds of years ago, they have this idea. He says, حتى تولد من نطفته في غير رحم امرأة ابن له. With the tadbir and plan of the Hakim, a son was born for the king without the sperm of the king being in the womb of any woman. So he didn't want to have marital relation and still wanted to have a son, and this wazir found a solution for him. وَسَمَّاهُ Salaamaan. He called this son Salaamaan. So Salaamaan is the son of the king without any mother and without being result of any kind of marriage. وَأَرْضَعَتْهُ امْرَأَةٌ. This is أَرْضَعَتْهُ, not أَوْضَعَتْهُ. وَأَرْضَعَتْهُ امْرَأَةٌ اسمها Absaal. Okay, now someone has to foster this baby. This boy who is born to the king needs someone to foster. There was a lady whose name was Absaal. She fostered the son of the king. وَرَبَّتْهُ, did tarbiyah. So the upbringing, raising of the son was done by this woman. But what happened was, وَهُوَ بَعْدَ بُلُوغِهِ أَشَقَهَا وَلَازَمَهَا. When this Salaamaan, the son of the king, became baligh and understood, marital relation and, sexual attraction, etc., unfortunately fell in love with this woman who is his, foster mother, the one who has fostered him and raised him up. So imagine the father, for the sake of purity, didn't want to even have a sexual relation, with a wife. But now this son is in love, has fallen in love with a foster mother, and lazamaha, and is always with her. وَهِيَ دَعَتْهُ إِلَى نَفْسِهَا. And unfortunately, this woman also is calling him towards herself. وإلى التذاذ بمعاشرتها, and says, come and enjoy and get pleasure by being with me. وَنَهَاهُ أَبُوهُ عَنْهَا. The king was aware, either because he was very clever and intelligent, he was aware of everything, as we will see later. He had something to even understand what is happening in other places, or because this was something which they couldn't keep it hidden. In any case, the king was aware. وَنَهَاهُ أَبُوهُ عَنْهَا. His father, who was king, said, leave this lady. وَأَمَرَهُ بِمُفَارَقَتِهَا, and commanded him to separate from this woman. So it's the father, it's the king, but because he is in love with her, فَلَمْ يُطِعْهُ, he didn't obey the king, who is his father. وَهَرَبَ مَعًا إِلَى مَا وَرَاءِ بَحْرِ الْمَغْرِبِ. And then Salaamaan and Absaal, this son and that woman together, they escaped and went very far behind the sea of Maghreb. At that time, they had the idea that Atlantic Ocean is like end of the world. They didn't know that there is after that, American continent, North America, Latin America, South America. They didn't know that. They thought where, Africa and Europe ends, it's end of the world. So that was called Bahrul Maghreb, the Sea of Maghreb, or Morocco. It was end of the world. Anyway, they managed to go that far, so that they are in the most remote place, maybe in an island somewhere, very much away from the king. وَكَانَ لِلْمَلِكِ, there must be a lam here. وَكَانَ لِلْمَلِكِ آلَةٌ. This is another, in addition to the idea of cloning, this is also interesting, that they had this idea that you could have an instrument by which you can see what is happening in remote places. So Malik had an instrument, ala means instrument. يَتَّلِعُ بِهَا عَلَى الْأَقَالِمِ. With this instrument, he was able to be monitoring and aware of what happens in all parts of his country. وَمَا فِيهَا, whatever is inside those countries. وَيَتَصَرَّفُ فِي أَهْلِهَا. Not only he was able to be muttali and well informed, he was able also to run and do things in different parts of his country with this instrument that he had. He had like a command room as an instrument, everything watching and doing. Okay, they thought because they are very far, the king doesn't know where they are, what they do, and certainly cannot do anything. But فَطَّلَعَ بِهَا عَلَيْهِمَا. With this instrument, the king became aware of these two, Salaamaan and Absaal. But وَرَقَّ لَهُمَا. Raqqa from raqqa means affection, softness of the heart. So because the king was a kind king and also a father, so although he was able to stop them right away and destroy them or punish them or bring them, but رَقَّ لَهُمَا. He felt, you know, kind of pity and, you know, was very kind. So أعطاهما ما عاشا به وأحملهما مدة. Therefore he gave them what they could live with. It seems that he even gave them some livelihood and, you know, something to live with, and gave them also muhla. Ahmalahuma must be ahmala is possible, amhala is also possible. Ahmala means to leave them, amhala means to give them muhla. Ihmal means to leave, imhal means to give muhla. Both of them is correct. So for some time he left them, or for some time he gave them muhla, to see maybe they themselves realize that what they are doing is wrong. Maybe they wake up. But it didn't change. ثم إنه غضب من تمادي سلامان في ملازمة المرأة. Then the king became angry that his son Salaamaan is not stopping. Tamadi means, you know, prolonging being with this woman. فجعلها بحيث يشتاق كل إلى صاحبه ولا يصل إليه. It can be فجعلهما. King did a kind of tadbir. What he did was he made them love each other but not being able to be together. So each of them had ishtiyaq and yearning for sahibihi, for the other, you know, one, but they were not able to reach. مع أنه يرى, but they were able to see each other. So somehow maybe he, I don't know, put a kind of guard for them, or a barriers, or they were, you know, for example, on two sides of a river. Anyway, they were seeing each other, loving each other, but not being able to be with each other. As you see, this is going to be very painful, because by remembering and seeing, the love is becoming more and more, and not being able to meet is a pain. فَتَعَذَّبَ بِذَلِكَ. So they were very much annoyed with that. تَعَذَّبَ. عَذَّبَ يُعَذِّبُ تَعَذِّيب means to punish. تَعَذَّبَ means to be annoyed, means as if you feel you are being punished. وَفَتَنَ سَلَامَانَ بِهِ. Salaamaan realized that this is something which is done to them by the father. He realized that this is not something that can have happened just by chance. So fatana means he realized, he understood. وَرَجَعَ إِلَىٰ أَبِيهِ مُعْتَذِرًا. He went back to his father and apologized. He said, please forgive me. وَنَبَّهَهُ أَبُوهُ عَلَىٰ أَنَّهُ لَا يَصِلُ إِلَى الْمُلْكِ الَّذِي رُشِّحَ لَهُ مَعَ عِشْقِهِ أَبْصَالَ الْفَاجِرَةِ وَإِلْفِهِ لَهَا. His father informed him that he cannot reach the kingdom for which he has been nominated with the love for this lady Absaal, who is Fajra. This is not a lady who is modest, who has chastity. And with the love that he has for this woman, and with the ulfa, elf means from ulfa, means, you know, being close and having intimate relation, he cannot become the king. So, but what happened? He didn't stop. فأخذ سلامان و أبسال كل منهما يد صاحبه وألقيا نفسيهما في البحر. They were so determined that they took hand of each other and threw themselves into the sea, so that they both drown and die. فخلصته روحانية الماء بأمر الملك بعد أن أشرف على الهلاك. The spiritual power which was responsible for water was obedient to the king. King had control even over water. Therefore, with the command of the king, the sun was saved. He was going to be destroyed. Halak, ashrafa al halak, means it was very close to destruction. But the king asked the spiritual power responsible for water to save his son. But وَقَرَقَتْ Absaal, that woman drowned and died. Okay, what happens now? He's not forgetting her. وَاغْتَمَّ Salaamaan. The son became very sad. He has lost his beloved and is very sad. He's not able to forget because the love is there. They have to find a solution to stop the love. Just to removing the beloved is not a solution. فَفَزَعَ الْمَلِكِ إِلَى الْحَكِيمِ فِي أَمْرِهِ. You remember we said that he had a Sadiq, a friend who was a Hakim, very wise, and he was helping him a lot. He conquered with his advice all the places, etc. So king went to that Hakim and asking for help. فَدَعَاهُ الْحَكِيمِ. Hakim called this son, Salaamaan, and said to Salaamaan, أَطِعْنِي, listen to me, أُوصِلْ أَبْصَالًا إِلَيْكَ. I will bring her to you. I will bring her back to you. فَأَطَاعَهُ. So he cooperated and listened to the Hakim, to the wise person. وَكَانَ يُرِيهِ صُورَتَهَا فَيَتَسَلَّى بِذَلِكَ. This Hakim was so capable that he was able to show him the image. But I think image doesn't mean picture. It seems to me that was bringing a kind of tamathul of that woman, a kind of imagination, but in the sense of like a kind of mukashafa, that he could see that woman, not just a picture. فَيَتَسَلَّى بِذَلِكَ. And this was comforting him because he was seeing her. رَجَاءَ وِصَالَهَا. He was hoping that he would meet her, and this was giving him a kind of comfort. إِلَى أَنْ صَارَ مُسْتَعِدًا لِمُشَاهَدَةِ سُورَةِ الزُّهْرَةِ. When he became better and he was getting used to seeing that image of his beloved, little by little he was prepared to see the image of Zenus, which stands for beauty, very high level of beauty, a kind of godly beauty. And Hakim showed that image to this son, to the son of the king. فَأَرَاهَ الْحَكِيمُ لَهُ بِدَعْوَتِهِ لَهَا. Hakim said, this is good for you. He didn't say forget, Absaal, but said, look at this. And, so he fell in love now with someone which is more beautiful. فَشَغَفَهَا حُبًّا. So he became very much loving. He fell in love with now Zuhra, Venus. فَنَفَرَ عَنْ خَيَالِ أَبْصَالِ. And then the memory of Absaal left. He ran away from the memory of Absaal. واستعد للملك بسبب مفارقتها. And because he left Absaal, and when in his heart and mind was free from the love for that woman who was not a nice woman, he was musta'id, he was prepared to become king. فَجَلَسَ عَلَى سَرِيرِ الْمُلْكِ. So he sat on the throne of kingdom. وَبَنَى الْحَكِيمِ الْحَرَمَيْنِ, or al-Haramain, sorry, Haramain is better, بِإِعَانَةِ الْمَلِكِ. Wazir, after solving this problem, built two, like in Egypt there are pyramids. He made two of them with the help of the king, one for the king, one for himself, and then put this story maybe on a piece of paper or something, skin was written with the body of himself and the body of the king in those pyramids. وَلَمْ يَتَمَكَّنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنْ إِخْرَاجِهَا. And no one was able to bring that story out of those pyramids غَيْرُ أَرَسْطُو, other than Aristotle. No one was able, and Aristotle brought this out with the instruction of Plato, because Plato was the teacher of Aristotle. And when he brought out Sadd al-Bab, then he closed and blocked it. وَانْتَشَرَتِ الْقِصَّةِ. And this story, after Aristotle brought it out, spread. وَنَقَلَهَا حُنَيْنُ بْنُ إِسْحَاقَ. Hunayn ibn Ishaq is a famous figure because in the era of Tarjuma, there was a nehza, there was a movement for translation, especially from Greek to Arabic. Hunayn ibn Ishaq is well known for that. He translated this story from Greek into Arabic. Okay. This story has two sides. One is the story itself, which has lots of symbolic ideas. The other thing is whether this is what Ibn Sina had in mind. When Ibn Sina said Salaamaan and Absaal, are those Salaamaan and Absaal the same figures that we have here or not? Khaja says this is not the story of Salaamaan and Absaal that Ibn Sina had in mind. This story, according to Khaja, although it is interesting and there are lots of ideas there, but he believes that this story is made by, one of the people who are philosophers but not very advanced. He says, هذه قصة اخترعها أحد من عوام الحكماء لينسب كلام الشيخ إليه. He says this is a story that one of the عوام الحكماء, not محققين from حكماء, not one of the very established and great philosophers, a philosopher who is awam, like lay people. Of course he's philosopher, but it's like people who don't know philosophy that much, who has superficial and shallow knowledge of philosophy. He fabricated or invented, composed this story To say that what Sheikh al-Ra'i said, Ibn Sina said, is this story. But this story doesn't match the nature of our situation. But it is interesting that this person had great power of, making a story, which is very interesting and has things that look like, scientific fictions, but also at the same time deep philosophical ideas. Now let's see how Khaja analyzes this story. I said there are two sides. One is what this story involves, which by itself is interesting. The other thing is that how much this matches what Ibn Sina wanted. We said the second one, no chance. But the first one, let's see. There are some interesting points. وهي غير مطابقة لذلك. This is not corresponding to what Ibn Sina has in mind. Now, this story, if you want to analyze it, إنها تقتضي أن يكون الملك هو العقل الفعال. Malik, the king here, stands for active intellect. Those of you who have studied philosophy, you remember in both Introduction to Philosophy and Bidayah, we mentioned. But those who haven't studied, don't worry, because this is not our main topic for Irfan. But Aql Fa'al is good to know anyway. Active intellect, Aql Fa'al. According to philosophers, especially according to Masha'un, peripatetic philosophers, there is a hierarchy of intellects. Masha'un believed in 10 intellects, Uqul Ashara. And these are fully abstract, mujarrad tam. The first is Aql Awwal. The first intellect is the first thing created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we have Aql Thani, Thalith. The 10th, which is the lowest, is nearest to Alam Madde, to the universe of material form. All the things in this material world are run by Aql Fa'al. Everything is run by Aql Fa'al. Aql Fa'al is mujarrad, but creates our nafs and also creates this physical world like our body and runs everything. So this is what he meant by king, because Aql Fa'al is running this world. So Al-Malik huwa al-aql al-fa'al. Who is Hakim? What does Hakim stand for? That wazir, or that kind of wisdom which was embodied in that person. Huwa al-faydh alladhi yafidhu alayhi mimma fawqah. Aql Fa'al has above itself other uqul, and then finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the grace phase, the reason they call faith comes from fayadan, means overflowing. When you have a pool and then water is overflowing, they say fayadan. But it stands for grace. So when the grace comes from higher realms or higher intellects to Aql Fa'al, the person who made this story thought it's good to say that it was a Hakim who was giving him these wise ideas, who was helping him. So Hakim is higher in understanding and wisdom than Malik. Then if you go to next page. What is Salaamaan? The son of the king. Huwa nafsun natiqa. You know, human beings have nafs natiqa. We have soul, which is natiqa. Although natiqa means speaking, but as we said before, this means understanding, because logos is aql and speech, and there is close relation actually between these two. So to make it simple, they said natiqa, nutq, the ability to speak, but indeed it's the ability to understand universal things, kulliyat, to be able to argue, to reason. So Salaamaan huwa nafsun natiqa. Aql fa'al wants to have nafs natiqa, but nafs natiqa afadaha min ghayr ta'alluqin bil jismaniyat. He didn't want to marry. What does it mean? You know, I remember we said that the king didn't want to marry a woman, and the Hakim said that I have a plan that without your sperm being into the womb of a woman, you can have a son. So nafs natiqah is that son that aql fa'al has, without aql fa'al belonging in any way with things which are jismani, because jismaniyat are under aql fa'al. As I said, aql fa'al is above all these physical material world and runs them and creates them. So this is why he didn't want to come to the level of mixing with maddiyat. وأبصال هو القوة البدنية الحيوانية التي بها تستكمل النفس. Absaal is symbolic here, doesn't mean necessarily a woman. It's symbolic, and it doesn't mean marriage. You know, of course, you know, Islamically marriage is very sacred, but there are many spiritualities in the world, even in, I don't want to mention religions, that look at marriage as something material, something, you know, not very much sacred. Maybe if we look at it just from the sexual aspect, or, you know, the sexual pleasure, that makes sense. But for us, marriage is sacred as well. But please don't take it literally, these things. So Absaal, that woman, is al-quwwatul badaniyatul haywaniyah. It's the power or the faculty of having corporeal and animal abilities that nafs natiqah needs, because nafs natiqah has to belong to a body. وَتَعْلِفُهَا, and nafs and this quvviyya badaniyya are so much close and have so much ulfa and closeness with each other that even us, we think we are body. Many human beings think they are body. We even have hard time to realize that we are not body. وَإِشْقُ السَّلَامَانِ لَأَبْصَالِ مَيْلُهَا إِلَى اللَّذَّاتِ الْبَدَنِيَّةِ. So the love that Salaamaan had for Absaal means the desire that nafs natiqah has for bodily pleasures, instead of being like his father, who is aql fa'al, and trying to be more spiritual, more abstract. وَنِسْبَةُ أَبْصَالِ إِلَى الْفُجُورِ. Why in the story it said that Absaal was not a modest lady? Fujur means a woman who, you know, does you know, adultery. Why? the point is this: تعلقها بغير النفس المتعينة بمادتها بعد مفارقة النفس. You know, nafs belongs to body. There are lots of course, discussions here whether nafs is created before or is eternal, or is created along with the body, as we say, jismaniyatul hudud. In any case, we have nafs and body. When nafs departs from the body, then this body doesn't stop existing. This body then remains and may become, for example, part of an animal, may become body for an animal, body for a plant. It can remain and belong to other things. So تعلقها بغير النفس المتعينة بمادتها. When this body belongs to something other than the nafs which it was belonging to, that was human soul, that was, for example, Mr. A's, for example, body. But when the soul of Mr. A departs, this body remains and belongs to other things. What did they mean by حربهما إلى ما وراء بحر المغرب? We said they escaped and ran away to very remote place. Even they went to بحر المغرب. It means انغماسهما في الأمور الفانية البعيدة عن الحق. Means they immersed in umur al-faniya, the things which expire, worldly affairs. But why we said so far? Because al-ba'idata an al-haq. So instead of being close to his father and the Hakim, they went very far, means they went so much away from haq, and they immersed in lazat, in those pleasures which are expiring and instant. وإهمالهما مدة مرور زمان عليهما لذلك. Or إهمالهما مدة مرور زمان عليهما. It's better to read it in this way. We said father, the king, left them for some time. What does it mean? It means that some time passed. مرور زمان عليهما. This being immersed in worldly pleasures and being away from haq didn't finish soon. It takes time. Maybe 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, this happens. وتعذيبهما بالشوق مع الحرمان وهما متلاقيان. You remember we said when they were there, the king realized he had an instrument, he found them and he was able to do things with this instrument. So what he did, he let them be there and seeing each other but not being able to connect. And therefore they were muta'azzab, they were annoyed. So the king was in this way hurting them. This stands for بقاء ميل النفس مع فتور القوى. It's very interesting. First the king gave them time, and that is when you are young. When you are young, you enjoy, and you do with your body lots of things to please yourself, lots of pleasures you get. But then when you grow older, it's like your muhla is finished, and then your quwa becomes weak. Futur means to become weak, and then no longer you enjoy that much. Like imagine if you are an old person who is not spiritual, and you spend your young age in doing lots of mischief or lots of anyways worldly things. Now you are not able to do them, and you are still if you still want them, you suffer. بقاء میل النفس مع فتور القوى عن أفعالها. But قوى البدن, the faculties or the powers that the body has, have become weak. They cannot do those actions after reaching the age of decline. Then we said Salaamaan went back to his father. وَرُجُوءُ السَّلَامَانِ لَأَبِيهِ التَّفَتُّنُ لِلْكَمَالِ. Salaamaan returned to his father. It means that Nafs al-Natiqah realizes that what is the way to perfection. So wants to regret and apologize and do tawbah and change the lifestyle, etc. التفتن للكمال والندام على الاشتغال بالباطل. والندام على الاشتغال بالباطل realizes that perfection is somewhere else and regrets that has been preoccupied with the falsehood. We said that unfortunately again he went back to Absaal and they threw themselves into the sea. وَإِلْقَاءُ نَفْسَيْهِمَا فِي الْبَحْرِ تَوَرُّطُهُمَا فِي الْحَلَاكِ means that they immerse themselves in destruction. They don't want to change. أَمَّا الْبَدَنِ, why body is damaging and destroying itself? Because body is anyway finishing. لِانْهِلَالِ الْقُوَى وَالْمِزَاجِ مَنْ نُعَمِّرْهُ نُنَكِّسُ فِي الْخَلْقِ. Body of everyone is sooner or later finishing. Becomes weak and then collapses. أَمَّا النَّفْسِ, but the problem with nafs is, although nafs can survive, and nafs is not like bodies, something that must be destroyed. But لِمُشَايَعَتِهَا إِيَّهُ, but when nafs, instead of having a spiritual orientation, goes just after the body and pleasure of body, then it's also being destroyed with the body unless it's saved. And then we talked about Salaamaan being saved and remaining. This means that nafs can survive after the body. And then we said the image of Zenus was, Hakim was able to show him the image of Zenus, means that now he starts getting the pleasure with kamalat aqliyah, with intellectual perfections. وَجُلُوسُهُ عَلَى سَرِيرِ الْمَلَكِ, we said later he became the king and sat on the throne of the king, means now he is able to reach real perfection. And those two pyramids that remain stand for as-suratul jismiyya wal maddatul jismiyya, means the corporeal form and the corporeal matter that always remain. So this is the interpretation of the story. Khaja says, okay, Salaamaan is good. Mutabiqun lima ana al-Sheikh. What Sheikh meant, because that amma Salaamaan masalun lak. This is good. This Salaamaan, the son of the king, is our example. But Absaal, he said, darajatuka fil irfan, your rank or degree in irfan. This Absaal ghayru mutabiqin. This Absaal was a bad, a woman which was standing not for irfan degrees, but was standing for being into worldly and physical pleasure, etc. وأما أبصال فغير مطابق لأنه أراد به درجة العارف في الإرفان. Ibn Sina said Absaal is the rank of the mystic in Irfan. فها هنا, but here Absaal is an example for what يعوقه, what stops him, عائق means a barrier, something blocks you from irfan and kamal. فبهذا الوجه, so for this reason ليست هذه القصة مناسبة لما ذكره الشيخ. This قصة, this story doesn't match what Sheikh said. وذلك يدل على قصور فهم واضعها عن الوصول إلى فهم غرضه منها. Khaja, because he believes that this is fabricated, so someone made a story and said this is what Sheikh al-Rais meant. He said he didn't understand what Sheikh al-Rais had in mind, and he made this story, but his fahm was qasir, his fahm was falling short, was not understanding what Ibn Sina wanted. Then Khaja starts the second story for this part, although we have already had two examples, two other stories. So this is going to be the fourth story, that he says, after 20 years of writing the commentary, I came across this story, and actually this story is referred and attributed to Sheikh himself, because Aba Ubaidat al-Jurjani, in listing the books by Sheikh al-Rais, actually mentions as one of the works of Sheikh al-Rais a work on Salaamaan and Absaal, and Sheikh has access to it after 20 years. Without quoting word by word, he gives us the gist of that story of Salaamaan and Absaal. I think I leave it for the inshallah next session, but I think the first story that we had today by itself is a great story and helps us understand what harm we cause to ourselves when we get fully immersed in just instant pleasure, immediate pleasure, worldly pleasure. And if we want to describe it, I think this is a very nice way of describing it, that it's like falling in love with your foster mother, who is not loyal to you also. So I stop here, and inshallah if there is any question we can inshallah take them. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.